Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jen Woodhouse. In this video, I'm going to show you how we turned our boring, largely unused basement space into a stunning Art Deco inspired theater room. Come on in. We had big plans that our basement would be a place for us all to hang out and relax, but in the months that followed, it primarily served as a storage area for forgotten furniture and moving boxes that we never bothered to unpack. Such a shame that this great space wasn't used more. But today, that all changes. The inspiration for this design actually came from a British TV show called Peaky Blinders. We've been obsessed with this show and binge-watched all 5 seasons and are not so patiently waiting for the next one. The series is loosely based on the real-life Peaky Blinders, who were ruthless gangsters from Birmingham, England around the late 1800s, early 1900s. Now, the show is set in the 1920s and it does have quite a bit of bad language and violence in it, so it's definitely not family friendly, but the cinematography, set design, the characters, the storyline, the soundtrack, the costumes, they're all so well done. And being immersed in that 1920s era is what inspired me to design this Art Deco theater room. Our basement doesn't have any windows, which means we have total light control. It makes this room ideal for use as a home theater. It measures about 20 feet by 16 feet with 8-foot drop ceilings. Adam had a giant leather sectional for almost 15 years and it spent most of his life in storage because it never fit in the homes that we rented. I have to admit, it's never been my favorite. The leather is super cold and slippery, and I literally slide off the couch because Adam thinks it's a good idea to armor all the leather. He finally sold it and I might have done a little happy dance. Instead of the typical reclining theater seats, we went with a super comfy, deep U-shaped sectional that the whole family can snuggle up in. We had our electricians wire the room for wall sconces and put all the lights on dimmers. As soon as the sconce placement was decided, we could install the trim. This trim is actually window mullions. I have a blog post and a video on how to install trim on the walls, so I'll link that below. If this design doesn't scream Art Deco, then I don't know what will. Once the trim was done, I agonized over color choices. I knew I wanted the trim to be gold, but was unsure about the wall color. Home theater enthusiasts often recommend a dark, flat wall paint so it doesn't reflect and distract from the movie theater experience. If you watch my DIY built-in cabinet video, then you'll know that I've kind of been on a dark green kick lately. I finally landed on a color called Vintage Vogue for the walls, but after I saw it on both the walls and the fireplace, it just didn't feel right. I realized that I wanted to see a bit more contrast between the brick and the wall. We had the paint store associate mix up the paint at varying strengths. We used Vintage Vogue at 100% strength on the brick and 75% strength on the walls, and it turned out to be the perfect solution. Did you know that that was an option? Well, now you do. You're welcome. I am absolutely in love with this color. It's dark and moody, but because it's muted, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels vintage and nostalgic, but still relevant and modern. We removed the small mantle from the fireplace and replaced it with a DIY Art Deco surround. Building this thing was surprisingly difficult. The edges are beveled for a more seamless joint, and this end is mitered over here, so it was pretty tricky to build. I had to label all of my parts so that I didn't get confused, and then I still got confused. This fireplace surround is made out of 1 sheet of 1/2-inch thick MDF. It's not bad for a $30 solution and about a weekend of work, right? Large antique art frames can be quite pricey, so I picked up a few feet of dental crown molding and made my own frame for this horse artwork, and it cost me about 20 bucks. This horse art print is a nod to the Kentucky Derby as well as to the Peaky Blinders, since the Shelby family are horse racing gamblers on the show. My kids love to snack while they're watching movies, but like most kids their age, they're really good at making messes. Because I don't want them to get chocolate ice cream all over my light-colored sectional, I built these 2 bar tables for the back of the room. I looked at natural stone, butcher block, and other materials for the bar top, but everything I considered was either too expensive or not readily available, so I racked my brain to find a better solution. Wandering up and down the aisles of Home Depot, I stumbled upon these pine stair treads. They were the perfect size and thickness, and for about $10 a pop, they were the perfect price too. It cost about $120 to build both bar tables. How beautiful are these ceiling tiles? I must have tested out over a dozen different designs before deciding on this one. And I went back and forth on these. I was unsure if it was too gaudy or overwhelming or too much texture. It was only until after the walls were painted and the sconces were installed and the room was put back together that I realized they belong in this room. They're a real showstopper, aren't they? And installation was super simple. We used kitchen shears to cut out the holes for the recessed lights and then just drop the tiles in place. Easiest DIY installation ever. We did a little research on home theater gear and were surprised to discover that it's not as costly as we expected. Of course, there are a lot of crazy expensive options out there, but we weren't looking to break the bank, and we found a decent projector for about $500 to $600. We have a 120-inch projector screen, a soundbar, and a subwoofer. Now, even though this isn't a true 5.1 surround sound system, the soundbar and the subwoofer sounds great in this space, and it gives us that movie theater experience. I know some home theater gurus might poo-poo on soundbars, but this one works great for us in the space, and I didn't really want to see all the clutter of a bunch of speakers sitting around. All in, the projector, screen, and sound gear costs around $1,000. So much for taking a tour of our basement theater room. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You guys know what to do. I'm Jen Woodhouse. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.